Hello there, I'm Dart Chrono. A few weeks ago on stream, I designed an In the Hoop plush of one of my ClanGen cats, Cloverthorn, from a save file I've also been playing on stream. I'm going to show you guys a condensed version of this while I talk through my process, as well as some unseen footage from the actual stitching out and assembly process. If you would like, you'll also be able to buy the final pattern on my Ko-fi or my website. A few days before stream, I finalised my design for Cloverthorn. I won't really go into my design process because it was mostly based on vibes, that being she's a confident, formally adventurous, senior warrior turned elder, and bringing her name elements in a little to her design by trying to incorporate clover elements into her shapes. I chose her because in-game she's fairly simple in terms of design, and because I had some rust orange in my Minky stock box, which was perfect for her coat colour. I started by duplicating my design so that I could edit the proportions to be more chibi and thus more appropriate for an In the Hoop plush. I also made sure to simplify any spikes because they will cause problems later when trying to turn the plush right side out. I drew each element on a separate layer so that I could see what each of them is doing individually and adjust where I wasn't happy. I also duplicated everything so that I could erase the overlapping lines and get a clearer picture of how she was looking. I didn't like how her chest floof was looking, so I tried a few more things, making it narrower or longer, making it more clover shaped, before I decided that was too complicated and just traced and resized my original chest fluff instead. Then, after I was happy, I marked out proportional landmarks to plot out a rough side view for the purpose of working out the pattern shapes of the main body and back legs. Once I was happy with the proportions of my pieces, I inked them, making sure to put the head, chest floof, front legs, main body and tail all on separate layers so that they can be separated more easily on the file that is going to be sent to the embroidery digitization software later. I would also normally put the eye colours and eye shine placements, but I forgot. Now the back piece is a little tricky because it gets folded in on itself to make it three-dimensional. It also has a slit in the back that the tail gets sewn into. You need to make sure it's wide enough to accommodate that. After I had all of my pieces, I sent them over to another file which I had adjusted to be the right size for my embroidery hoop, and then rearranged my pieces so that there would be some seam allowance on all of them. Afterwards, I went over to my embroidery software, Embird. I apologise for switching to my stream footage rather than clean Embird footage like I had with Clip Studio. I lost the file? I don't know where it went. It's gone. Anyway, I started with the eyes, starting with a stabilising stitch over the full eye before going on to the lighter green with only a small overlap into the eye lines and shadow. I then did the dark green shadow of the eyes, the pupil, and the eye shine, before doing the eye lines in a satin stitch. I also did the eye bags, also in a satin stitch. I duplicated the right eye and mirrored it to the left before moving the eye shine so that it was coming from the same direction. Next, the pink, inner ears, nose and scar. I then finished off the satin stitch detailing of the fluff lines and toes, and almost forgot the mouth, but I got it in the end. Next is the running stitch that is sewing out all of the pieces. I'm not sure how to mirror the pieces so that they continue to sew in one complete line and not jump up to the mirrored version of the starting point on the other side. So if you have any suggestions, sound off in the comments. I'd be glad of any advice. So I did a few adjustments off stream, like rearrange the colours into groups, as well as a practice run, after which I decided I needed to make a few changes, which I also fixed but didn't record. So now let's get on to the stitching out. Please don't mind that it switches from orange to grey. I had to try out both of my hoop sizes and I didn't have that much orange left in my stock box, so I wasn't really willing to risk using it all up if I had to go back to the drawing board one more time. So we have a grey one as well, which I stitched out first. Okay, first off I'd like to say do as I say, not as I do in regards to holding down the film topper. What you should do is either tape it down or secure it into the hoop with the stabilizer and the first layer of Minky. I did not do this because I forgot, and then I didn't want to rehoop my fabric. I have been injured just holding it down with my hands in the past, so don't do as I do. So I basically just let it stitch out, changing colours where I need to. I have further instructions regarding colour changes if you decide to purchase the embroidery file. Once all the details are stitched out, I trimmed off the threads poking up and then ripped off the film. I place on top another layer of Minky fabric, making sure the pile is going in the same direction. I then let it stitch out a basting stitch to hold it in place before I let it sew out the actual pieces. My ring light died, so I had to wait for it to charge before I stitched out the final few pieces. Now onto the assembly. I cut out all the pieces, trying to make sure not to accidentally cut too close, and then turned all but the back piece. I found the back piece quite fiddly to do on camera, so I think in the future I'm going to have to figure out a better setup, both in terms of visuals and to make things easier for me to see what I'm doing. I especially found inserting the tail tricky, so you're going to see me struggle for a bit here. I ended up stuffing the body a little bit and then basting the tail to one side before sewing the dart closed. It's significantly easier to sew if you're not doing so at arm's length behind a camera. If you'd like some actually, hopefully, useful instructions, again, I have drawn out some diagrams in the instructions for this pattern. I finished stuffing the body before moving on to the ladder stitch that helps pull the body together and make it into a 3D sitting pose. I closed the final opening and stuffed the chest fluff, front legs and head. I closed the opening of the head. I checked how I wanted everything to sit before attaching the chest floof to the head with a whip stitch and a ladder stitch. After that, I attached the front legs to the floof, again checking how it was positioned before sewing. This time I put a couple of pins through the plush to hold it in place before securing it in a similar fashion. I I did the same with the back legs, making sure she could sit with all 4 paws on the ground before sewing her up. Then I had some minor adjustments to make because I wasn't quite liking the position of her head, and just to make sure that everything was sitting securely. And then we're done. Here's some glamour shots of both Cloverthorn the ginger and the as of yet unnamed grey kitty. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed following me through this endeavour. If you would like to watch me design more plushies live, as well as some other stuff like more general art and sometimes gaming, feel free to follow me over at Twitch at darkchrono. If you would like to buy this pattern or a kit or even a finished plush of this design, please go to my Ko-fi or my website. Thank you for watching, remember to like, comment and subscribe, and I hope to see you all again soon. Bye!